Hi friends, I'm Meliora. Welcome to my channel. Today we're talking about Maison Margiela, a historic Belgian designer. Basically, he's very commonly referenced as one of the designers that put Belgium on the fashion roadmap that made Antwerp one of the global capitals of fashion. So even though mostly famous for kind of the end of 80s and 90s deconstructed fashion approach, the point of today's discussion is obviously their perfume line. The perfume line came much later than the original designs, and in many ways this is a designer house. This is not a niche perfume house, even though to many people who are not kind of like preview to global fashion, who don't know many fashion brands beyond like Gucci or I don't know, Prada, this might seem like niche. And definitely some of the blends that they came up with could rival a lot of niche creations just as well. To be completely honest, there is not much of a real connection between the fragrances themselves and the creator of the brand, Martin Margiela. First of all, the fragrances were launched, if I'm not mistaken, in 2010, and that was after Martin Margiela resigned as a sort of active artistic director and founder of the brand. So in any way trying to kind of evaluate how well the fragrances execute the original vision, we can only rely on the general sense of what Margiela's brand represents, and it represents kind of the deconstruction, the avant-garde of the end of the 80s and the 90s. So talking of reconstruction, it is not a random choice of the name of the line, Replica. So supposedly we take a concept of a sailing day. Why don't we start here? A good friend of mine, also a perfume enthusiast, sent me a really lavish set of samples, and some other samples were sent by my other subscribers. So this is basically a collective review that was sponsored by you, my dear subscribers. So I'm gonna review all the fragrances that I have and one that I used to have, and I'm craving to get a full-size bottle, but I'm not just willing to shell that much money. So we'll talk about everything, and we'll talk about kind of useful comparisons to help kind of guide you through the range of the fragrances that they produce. So we take a concept such as, in this case, Sailing Day, and we deconstruct it into what it really could mean if we take all of the environment away but only leave you with olfactory memories. And here we get maybe not the best fragrance to start with, because I'm not really that big of a fan of it. I find that almost no fragrances by Margiela are appalling or avant-garde enough so they could be controversial, but I do find that a fair share of them are very generic and kind of they don't have enough character. So when I'm disappointed by something, that's what I mean. They are not revolting or unpleasant, but they are just not quite there to justify the price tag that they put on their perfumes. So Sailing Day is a kind of predictable, oceanic, kind of salty, aquatic perfume. It is what you expect it to be, and that to me is disappointing. It's a little bit synthetic in the sense that the salt accord here doesn't have enough grab, doesn't have any interesting twist, and it's rather dominated by kind of like these oceanic, aquatic florals. Very easy to wear, very much like see, like something like that I would expect from any other but a body splash, like those like in tall plastic bottles. You can buy them in Target, in the body shop, basically anywhere. But to justify the price tag of well over $100, that just doesn't cut it for me. This is what I imagine somebody would buy if they just ran out of perfumes altogether and they just urgently needed something to feel and to smell refreshing in the morning at work. Otherwise, I can't quite see anyone who has a perfume collection that would justify that kind of price. There are so many perfumes you can buy for $100 and like not even one, probably several, that this just doesn't quite land anywhere for me. And if you want to compare it, if you really want something that is somewhat breezy, that has a bit of that salty beach air, I would rather recommend Laguna. This is deeper, this is richer, and this is more niche. It has way more charisma and character than the Sailing Day does. Granted, this is not as fresh, but this definitely has that Mediterranean breeze feel, and the packaging is truly avant-garde and it's truly very memorable and has a ton of character that we can give Salvador Dali for sure. And it costs probably 5 times less. Just saying. If I had to come up with the kind of closest comparison, I find the Costarella by Carner Barcelona. This is my second decant. I completely used up the first one. The first one I got from Sunbird. They definitely have it, I think. And generally, Costarella by Carner Barcelona can be found in the online discount stores. So you could pay about 40-50% less and get almost the same story as Sailing Day, but here, that's what I find more cheerful here. Here, there is more zest and grab to this kind of salty oceanic note. It's a little bit more exuberant. Though I feel that Sailing Day probably lasts a little longer. Not that any of these last a long time. But if I was pressed to choose like the kind of the lightest salty aquatic kind of oceanic fragrance in my collection, and I had to pick between, you know, like 2, I would go probably with Costarella by Carner Barcelona because I like the packaging more. I think it's higher quality packaging and it's a niche brand that's a little bit of like a snob in me. And I can find it for like decent discount online. And what's even more important, I find that this interpretation of this kind of like turquoise water, salty Mediterranean breeze, much more lively, much more cheerful. The next one that I tried, and it's even more bitter disappointment to be honest, this is Springtime in the Park. One of the more recent ones, I think this is 2019 if I'm not mistaken. But you can read the pyramid if you really want to, but it smells almost to the T to a kind of like springtime laundry detergent. I don't get it. I don't understand why would you take kind of like the cheap, very affordable flavors that I added to, you know, just household products and make it into a perfume. It's basically some combination of white florals, like a cheerful ones, like a soapy, such as Lily of the Valley and some other ones, maybe even lilac, I don't know. It's just so generic. It smells quite simplistic. I don't get it. Why? Why would you even put it on the shelf? How did it make it through all of the product reviews? I can't fathom. If Sailing Day at least had some of that kind of like a romantic notion of something simple but pleasant, such as kind of a salty oceanic aquatic fragrance, here it's literally like it's a cleaning product. It's laundry detergent, this is all. There's no opening, there is no depth. It smells as synthetics as those odorants that you get from like your laundry. And even if you're going for that kind of scent, you can find body splashes that are probably $10 for like 200 ml that might have more allure and charm to them than this. So yeah, Springtime in the Park, unbelievable flop. I'm a little bit taken aback that Margiela would put this on their shelves alongside some of the truly amazing creations that they have. And hopefully we'll get to this very soon. And the third one that I decided to put after that, because it's kind of like the same narrative. And again, I'm a little bit confused why they create, probably they have like 5 or 6 fragrances that all reference about the same thing of spring florals or like light floral scents. The need to have 5, especially of the quality, quote unquote quality of the blend like Springtime in the Park, just escapes me. But an earlier edition, a perfectly good one that they had in 2013, 2019, 2013, 6 years prior, is called Promenade in the Gardens. Perfect. This is what you would expect from Penhaligon's, from Diptyque, certain blends of Erin, or even, let's keep it, Jo Malone. But here we get a bouquet. If Springtime in the Park is just a bizarre synthetic odorant, Promenade in the Gardens is a fragrance. It's a perfume. It has this kind of delicate, demure, very naive charm. It's light, it's floral, it has a little bit of a kind of herbaceous, kind of green side to it that I really like. All in all, delightful. I'll wear it with great pleasure, and I probably will just use Springtime in the Park as a, I don't know, bathroom refreshener. Promenade in the Gardens, I say, is a way more superior form of a light, airy floral that the line has to offer. The next one is my longtime love and guilty pleasure, and this is no other than Lipstick On. I've bought sample after sample after sample, refusing to admit how much in love I was with this fragrance. As far as I know, it should be a bestseller. As far as I know, it is a bestseller in certain regions of the world. I'm not sure if it is in the United States. And as far as I know, it is discontinued. It's not featured on the website, it's not featured on majority of the large department stores. So again, it just escapes me why such a beauty that is unrivaled by any other powdery fragrance on the market would be discontinued. Don't ask me, I cannot process that, I cannot understand. And this makes this gift even that more precious. So the reason that I've been buying samples and not buying the bottle for such a long time is the price tag and the fact that I'm not a big fan of the packaging. This is some kind of a attempt to mimic apothecary, kind of like more of a vintagey take on a perfume packaging, but just having no lid of any kind leaves me wanting more out of this design. It's okay, it's recognizable, it's not bad by any means, but it's, again, for the price tag, it needs to be more design for it to cost that much, and this is not it. It's a bit cheap in my not so humble opinion. But the fragrance, the reason it's a guilty pleasure and not like a proud gem that I have in my collection is that I felt like it was just too poppy, because it has this very characteristic sugary kind of candy cane gourmand base that is present in majority of mainstream gourmands that I absolutely loathe. but it has such a beautiful powdery iris nesting on top of it that I will forgive it the ethyl maltol kind of Levi Bell like overdose of sugar. I'm willing to forgive it at anything. At this point, I resign to love it. Lipsticon is a gem if you can put your hands on it, and if you love gourmand powdery perfumes and you love sweet iris perfumes. Nothing from any brand even come close to it. Even though I have more elegant irises, I have more elegant, intricate, niche, unique powders in my collection, this is just like it wins my heart. It's like people's choice, if you wish. There are a lot of cerebral reasons why I would choose something else, but my heart stays with Lipsticon. Another thing that really confuses me about this fragrance, this is one of the fragrances that I searched high and low, but I couldn't find the name of the perfumer who made it. And considering that this is one of my absolute favorites from the line, and moreover a unique one to the perfume market in general, I'm just desperate. Like, I can't figure out why. This is a true masterpiece, and it's like a compliment getter, it's a crowd pleaser, yet it is unique and has enough charisma to stand on its own against be it designer, hyperlux or niche brands. And yet it's nameless. It's so bizarre to me. This is like an enigma. Probably this perfume forever remain somewhat of a mystery to me, because everything about it is not, it's like it's full of dichotomies, but I love it. I love it. Okay, moving on. Another very recent release, more deconstructed concepts coming from the brand, some better executed than others, but I find that their new lines are still kind of leaving a lot to be desired in comparison to the original launch. But here I have Wicked Love, in short described as gun, metal, and roses. Gun, metal, and roses. Well, I don't know about gunmetal, and I don't know much about roses here, but I can tell you that this is one of those piercing, sour, sweet perfumes. Those tend to do beautifully in Eastern Europe. Don't ask me why. Anything that is sour musks, lychee, plus, you know, something like musk or some other notes that kind of like create this tardy, semi-sweet, tardy, sweet, sour, sweet combination. It could be rhubarb with something else. It could be lychee. It could be berries. It could be sour fruits such as kiwi or something else of that kind, even pineapple. So this has this kind of like sour sweet combination. I don't really find this to be rosy, maybe in the sense of those oily sour roses, similar to like a typical Bulgarian rose oil, or even more toward wild rose bushes, the things that you kind of can make tea with. Maybe Chloe's rose, because that tends to be pretty kind of like musky sour rose as well. It's interesting, it's loud, it lasts a long time, I'll give it that. But conceptually, I'm not sure we really arrived at either gunmetal or roses. When it comes to metallic notes, not many brands do them better than Serge Lutens and Etat Libre d'Orange. If you're really truly looking for some experimental contrast between metallic notes and something else, be it rose, jasmine, this, that, you name it, it's probably between Serge Lutens and Etat Libre d'Orange. Here, again, I find the blending a little bit in your face, which makes me think of laundry detergents. What? I mean, it has character, at least comparatively to Springtime in the Park. It has its own vibe. So Wicked Love, interesting. I'll probably wear it. There's like a little bit left, but there's no way I'm buying a full-size bottle. Not quite what I'm looking for when it comes to metal and roses. Next one, let's do Fireplace. By the Fireplace, one of the best sellers. I think is definitely a bestseller in the United States. For many people, this is Christmas in a bottle, one of the most popular Christmas gifts that people receive perfume-wise. What it really is, it's kind of this heavy, somewhat resinous, ambery vanilla accord that is wrapped and foggied by smoke. It's a little bit smoky, but for the majority of people who don't really love niche, who really don't like any kind of extravagant or abstract or too experimental of perfumes, smoke here doesn't go nearly as far as it goes in for majority niche houses. It's a very wearable, it's only a tinge, it's only a hint of smoke. And I think this is the kind of the secret of the wide appeal of this fragrance to people all across the spectrum, people who don't wear perfumes, people who have like 1 or 2 bottles randomly bought or even gifted to them, and to actually perfume maniacs who have like 500 to 600 bottle collections. It just hits this sweet spot of having just enough of everything to make it interesting enough to separate it from the mainstream and for like a gazillion of other gourmand fragrances on the market, and yet not take it too far to make it difficult or challenging to comprehend and wear. I'm not gonna lie, love it. I love it. And again, I think the lipstick on made me confront the reality that I rather do enjoy the perfumes of this house, despite me being a bit snobbish about kind of, you know, what everybody likes, and therefore I can't like it. I'm like that kind of person. But everybody loves it, and so do I. It's beautiful. It's a crowd pleaser, and what's amazing, it's so cozy and comforting that it kind of easily transcends any gender marketing you can imagine. It's just a scent you want to smell. You want to smell it in your house, you want to smell it on your sweater, on his, on hers, on anybody, on your mother, on your grandfather, on your children. But before you run off and just order yourself 100 ml of By the Fireplace, let me tell you a story. Interestingly enough, as soon as I started smelling it, I had a déjà vu, and I pulled another fragrance from my collection that coincidentally launched the same year. I am absolutely sure there is no idea stealing there. It's just pure coincidence, or maybe that particular aromatic ingredient became available for commercial use, so every perfumer started using it. But By the Fireplace has this characteristic tone of kind of like seared chestnuts. They often sold as a snack in France. I don't know about other places, maybe certain parts of Canada. If you ever smell them, you'll never mistake it with anything else. And I have a perfume that has just that very heart, but it's even more pronounced, brighter, and longer lasting. And that is Noir Ski by L'Artisan Parfumeur. And as soon as I sprayed them both, it just dawned on me that they're like, it's my brother from another mother. They are not the same. Why am I holding paper? Noir Ski, I would say, even smokier, a little bit louder, longer lasting. It lasts forever. It's very rare for L'Artisan Parfumeur fragrances to be that potent, but this one is. but this one doesn't have as much smoke. By the Fireplace does have that kind of slightly burnt chestnut note, but it's softer, it's more rounded, and it's a little bit more smoky. So when it comes to styling, the way that L'Artisan Parfumé packages their perfumes is just 10 out of 10. I would definitely go for their packaging over Maison Margiela. I'll show you the bottle, even though it's a different fragrance. Packaging, I would go here. Pricing, also interesting point. You can find Noir Ski for quite a hefty discount online, so it ends up being actually cheaper. So when we're talking about uniqueness of By the Fireplace on the market, I must say there are options available to you. It kind of depends on what kind of packaging you prefer and where do you side more with. A softer, easier perfume that is a little bit more smoky, then go for By the Fireplace. If you want a little bit more vibrant, gourmand, and very pronounced chestnut note, and let's say you're a snob like me, then go for niche. L'Artisan Parfumeur Noir Ski, beautiful, just beautiful. And for me, as soon as I realized the commonality, like the common thread of these gourmand chestnut notes between them, I realized I don't really need By the Fireplace in full size as much as I thought I do, because I already have something that's quite similar. The next one is gonna be Just Club. It's not a new perfume, but it seems like it's living its second birth in 2020, believe it or not. It got at the top of, I think, some fragrance competition. It is more and more referenced by different kind of perfume reviewers and bloggers, even though I think it's as old as Lipstick On or some others, or like prominent in the gardens. So Just Club is, to me, is the Prohibition era cocktails. Manhattan, old-fashioned, rum-fashioned. It's like beautifully vanilla styrax and kind of a bit of chocolate bitters wrapped with the dark rum. It's, to be honest, the danger of it, that it does remind me of a drink so much that I'm starting to crave one. I really start craving an old-fashioned when I smell this perfume. It's just that good. And for me, it is a difficult choice because I've been considering buying one of the three: the Barbershop, Just Club, or By the Fireplace, because they all kind of fall into a similar spicy, with different levels of sweetness and different types of course, but they're kind of closer together in olfactory space. And I was kind of trying to figure out which one do I love more. And after much deliberation, and given the fact that I already have its brother Noir Ski by L'Artisan Parfumeur, By the Fireplace kind of takes a step back, and my most coveted wish list perfume by Maison Margiela is Just Club. It's fabulous. At the same time, it has this very pleasing quality about good designer perfumes, that it is interesting, it has charisma, but it's not generic. It has its own kind of face and character, and it is interesting enough to grab your attention, but it's still a crowd pleaser. It's easy to wear. It's very comfortable and very flirtatious. Love it, love it, love it. Gender neutral by all accords. If you like boozy cocktails, if you like dark rum, you'll like Just Club. Love it. It's probably it's definitely my top one on the wish list by this house. And the very last one I will just mention because I don't have it with me, but I kept getting free little samples in Sephora because and it's another guilty pleasure of mine, is Across Scents. I think it's the same collection as the Wicked Love. And there we're talking about the idea, the concept of hot desert sand when the sun is just setting. So I have a few fragrances in my collection that claim to kind of portray that hot desert sand effect, and I find that Across Sands doesn't quite do it. What it really does well, it popularizes oud, because Across Sands, it's again a kind of recognizable now, this ethyl maltol, think Black Opium, La Vie est Belle, Poison Girl, gosh, a million of others. This ethyl maltol, like sugar candy, maybe, I don't know, modern kind of approach to caramel type of sweetness. But Across Sands, that kind of like easy to wear, charming, sweet, sugary base is paired with oud. And oud is not a very popular note mainstream because it's not the easiest to wear. There are many different ways to wrap oud with other accords, and that the way that they did it with Across Sands, I find to be like, I think they hit a jackpot, because if you wanted to start enjoying more unique fragrances, but you are coming from the comfort zone of kind of like you used to wear Britney Spears Midnight Fantasy all the time or La Vie est Belle, and you're not quite ready to dive into something as a polar opposite, Across Sands just introduces oud as a note in such a effortless way that I kept coming back for samples. The only reason why I don't have it in full size yet is I just can't find it on good enough deal. I'm still hoping that I might find it like secondhand, maybe like like a leftover in the bottle kind of situation, but it's not very common, which tells me that this fragrance, people who buy it used to use it up completely. To me, it's a sign of quality. So if you're curious about oud, if you love easy to wear kind of contemporary gourmands, Across Sands, it's a very good one. But if you're like a true oud lover and you kind of come from more like Arabic style of perfume making, I'm afraid that Across Sands might strike true oud lovers as a little bit simplistic, or even God forbid disrespectful to the kind of the heritage, the splendor of oudy fragrances. But to me, it's a crowd pleaser, and again, I'm not a big fan of oud. It's a difficult note for me to wear. It's very rare for me to like an oud fragrance, and I found that the Across Sands did a great job in making it more palatable and almost more cozy and easy to wear. So that's the 8 perfumes that we discussed today. Let me know if you tried any others. Do you have any favorites, any disappointments? What do you think about their packaging, the styling, the concepts, the prices? Tell me everything. I'll be waiting for your comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.